welcome everyone to tonight's Lean Into Allyship event, Black Girl Interrupted by Beth. On behalf of myself and my co-conspirator AJ and Nehemiah and Justified Anger, we are truly so honored to be spending the next hour in dialogue and learning with gifted artist, minister, speaker, and fierce advocate for defending Black girls and women, Reverend Lilada G. We'll hear from her on the all too often response and result when Black women and girls try to make moves in society and express themselves in authentic and culturally natural ways. We will dig into what it means for Black women and girls to have their work, art, and identities questioned and disrupted. As many of us know, in the last few months, Reverend Lilada has been reminded all too vividly of what happens and what these interruptions mean and do. We are thrilled to have you all with us this evening, and we would love to get things started just with an idea of where you're joining from and how many Lean Into Allyship events you've attended in the past. That's something that we really love to kind of keep an eye on and watch grow as we go along in our second full year, right? Are we? Yeah, yes, 2.5 full years. So that is an exciting place to be, and we're really glad for those of you that have been along with us on the ride and for those of you that might just be joining us for the first time today. So if you wanted to go ahead and enter that into the Q&A, if that's open, we can see that on our end. We can definitely share some of the insights that you're sending our way. And as you are entering that into the Q&A, on that note, just wanted to remind you that we do turn off the chat function during these events to allow our Nehemiah team, specifically the Don Thornton, to share valuable resources throughout the event. So thank you so much to Don, and huge kudos and props to him for all of the rich insights and resources that he always provides along the way of our sessions. Looks like we have Melody is here with us, and this is their second event. Julie is from Lodi, Wisconsin, and she has been a part of these ally events for 2+ years. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here. It's always very fun for us to, oh, there's so many now. Okay. So we have Amanda is here from Milton, and this is her 3rd LIA meeting. Welcome back, Amanda. Rebecca, she has attended for the last 4 or 5 events. Inga is here also for 2 events. Erica is from Madison, and she is no stranger to Lean Into Allyship. And we have Sue from Middleton. She's been a part of Nehemiah for 2+ years. If this is the Sue I'm thinking of, I think Sue and I were partners. We were in the same cohort together for Black History for a New Day. So it's great to see you, Sue. Rhonda, welcome. It is her first Lean Into Allyship event, and Rhonda is from De Pere, Wisconsin. We have a whole bunch of Wisconsin attendees. So yes, thank you everyone so much for being here. We are so glad to have you and hope that this is not your first or your last. So as we move into tonight's really important conversation, we just want to cover a quick few housekeeping notes that we typically start things off with. So first and foremost, as you've definitely heard us advocate for in the past, we strongly ask that you consider donating to Nehemiah tonight. And tonight, certainly the focus is on support of Lilada G. So while we partner with Nehemiah and Justified Anger and making the Lean Into Allyship series possible, tonight continues to be around, the support and the appreciation for Lilada G. So we will have lots of great information throughout the event on how to support Lilada and just information and involvement opportunities with Nehemiah as well. But we cannot and definitely do not expect Reverend Lilada or Nehemiah and the JA platform to, support and contribute and help guide us in these events and educations for free. A donation helps continue their work throughout our community and helps change individuals from the inside out, one by one. And that's so important. So any way that we can be a part of that growth is an honor. So please certainly consider advocating by way of your financial support tonight if you're able. Also letting you know that we send out a follow-up email after each session, including links to the session recording and all of the resources that are shared. Like I mentioned earlier, Don is a wealth of information, and he has the fastest fingers in Wisconsin, I would say. So we don't always necessarily, we're not always able to capture every single resource that's shared, but we do provide at high level the resources and insights that we cover. So we really encourage you with that to just minimize your distractions as much as possible. Just dive in and dig in with us tonight, and just know that there's going to be a lot coming at you tonight. And the beauty of it is that you get to go back and rewatch and access the information that we talk about in our follow-up content. And then again, just touching on, we turn the chat function off to allow for that sharing. And so you can use the Q&A. Truly, this hour is for all of us. And as non-Black would-be allies and co-conspirators, we are all participants, and your questions, especially tonight, are really going to help guide the conversation as we go along. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, as we dive in, we really just want to take a moment to share our love and admiration and appreciation for Reverend Lilada G. We know many of you know her, but for those who don't, I am just thrilled to be able to tell you a bit about her. So Reverend Lilada has committed her life to the defending of Black girlhood and the healing of Black women. And she has actively been doing so in the community of Madison, Wisconsin, and far, far beyond for over 30 years. Reverend Lilada is a dynamic woman, incredible artist, life-changing healer, daring preacher, published author, international inspirational speaker, and podcast host. She is the president and founder of Defending Black Girlhood and Lilada's Art, and her nonprofit specializes in advocating for Black girls being safe in their homes, schools, and communities to live, learn, and be loved. If you have attended LIA with us before, you've likely already been moved by her heart and soul as a frequent host or guest of our Lean Into Allyship sessions. She will always bring the truth. She'll bring her wit and perspective on the experience and gifts of Black girls and women. We have had some really, really wonderful times with Reverend Lilada throughout the years on this series, and we are so grateful to have you back with us today. Hopefully, you have had a chance to read the background articles we've communicated from our Lean Into Allyship event promos over these past 2 months about the injustice that Reverend Lilada has faced with the Overture Center and MMOCA. And if you were able to join us last month, you were part of a truly moving workshop where non-Black allies came together in exploration and imagination, were words that Reverend Lilada used earlier today that I really loved. And we explored and imagined together last month in support of her and her work. We didn't stop there, and we don't intend to. A subgroup from last month's session met earlier this week to further discuss and activate around how we can support and be the change. And AJ will speak to this a bit more later in the session, but we are really excited for what's to come and to kind of share some of the work underway. So with that, I didn't know, AJ, if you wanted to introduce yourself at all. I'm definitely happy. Dan Beltran, who's normally my partner in these events, is not able to be here tonight, but I'm so thrilled to have AJ here alongside me in this conversation with Lilada. So welcome to you both.
Thanks. Happy to be here from behind the scenes again.
Awesome. So Lilada, I think really just to kick things off, we were hoping to really just start by the necessary acknowledgement that the experiences that you have had and the injustice that you have, come under through MMOCA and the Overture Center are not unique, right? The most unfortunate piece of all of this is that we know that it is such a broader build into a true, a systemic truth. And I think that we would love to hear from you and your perspective and just your lifelong work around how that ties together and how, how your experience connects into what we all know was certainly not a one-off.
Yes. So thanks again for having me. I'm always happy to be in the LIA room. And so thank you all for joining tonight. Probably one thing I'll start off with, for those of you who heard about the initial incident that happened at the Overture, a lot of people felt believed that the person who accosted me at the door was a security guard, but it was actually a woman named Beth, Brickington or Birmingham. I can't think of her last name right now, but she was the head of guest services. So I think that's really key because it kind of underlines that in these spaces where Madison says, you know, we're the best place to live, this is a great place to be, that a person who is over guest services could feel emboldened to address a person in the way that she did. And I think, you know, a lot of people asked me about it and what happened and things of that nature, and then the subsequent experience with Momoka, which we could get into some more details about. But one of the things I want people to really understand, that this is about art and it's not about art. That for Black women, it's about quality of life and being able to live in peace and joy without needing to be constantly interrupted of doing things that most other people can do without being bothered. Like, I dare any of you who are in the field of art, who know an artist, maybe you're artist yourself, to ask yourself, have I ever had to deal with being traumatized in order to do art? Like, do I get to do art trauma-free? When I go to the museum and I see things, do I feel like these artists have been traumatized in order to be here or in their experience in getting here? And one of the things I thought about after the incident happening at the Museum of Contemporary Art was I just kind of stepped back because, you know, I was working on my exhibit about Black girls and their stories when I was interrupted by Beth. And then the installation was about being interrupted by Beth, which also was attacked. And I thought, okay, what is it me? Is something I said, something I did? Like, what is this? And I reflected on the intention of my original piece, and I reflected on the focus of the piece zeroing in on the interruptions that Black girls and Black women have all the time. And then I looked at my art critically and I said, this is about interrupting Black joy. You can see behind me, that's the kind of art I do. I don't do art that says fuck you, even though I may think it sometimes. I don't, you know, I'm not marching and breaking windows. I'm not doing any, although I have marched, you know what I'm saying? But that's not what people are responding to. That's not what's getting attacked. Art like that's behind me, that beautifies Black women, art that uplifts Black girls, art that depicts Black girls being happy and joyful, art that depicts what Black girls are going through. That's what's being attacked. And I want you guys to listen to something for a minute. That silence is the Madison art community grossly in response to the incidents that I have had to endure. Whether we're looking at other artists, whether we're looking at art institutes in the city of Madison, when we're looking at funders who fund art, silence. And even having to push media, you know, challenging Wisconsin State Journal. When I talked to their art and culture person, why didn't you cover this? Well, Madison 365 did it. I said, your whole job is about art and culture. If you wouldn't cover me not being let into the Overture Center to paint, what do you cover? So,
yeah,
I'll pause there.
Thank you for that. I mean, that is a powerful question to be posed to the journal and truly to all of us, you know, here tonight, the conversations that we're having, and all of, you know, the outlets and potential supporters within Madison. That was such an excellent opener to everyone in attendance tonight. Just a reminder that this is your hour with Reverend Lilada as much as it is, mine and AJ's. So please do share in the Q&A any questions that you have, and we will definitely dig in. When you were speaking earlier, I wanted to just share a quote from you that we had included in the promotion piece, and definitely has stuck with all of us along this journey, that you said, art is big enough, but it's bigger than art. The stress on Black women, it's impacting our physical health, our mental health. This is a larger issue that goes to quality of life. I personally feel that some of the most powerful Lean Into Allyship sessions that we have had over the last 2.5 years have been when we have had the honor of, featuring you as our guest and speaking about the true inside out impact that these experiences and these interruptions have on Black girls and women. And for those of us that have, been able to hear you speak about this, I know that it's been soul shaking, and mind changing for sure. I know we don't mind hearing it again. And I think it's so, so important for anyone that's new with us tonight and hasn't heard some of that conversation, if you would be willing to share a little about that, your perspective and your experience, and just your truth around that.
Absolutely. So the level of stress that Black women endure really goes to the core of the quality of life that we have. Whether you're looking at the front end of the generations of trauma that every Black person, and Black girls in particular that I focus on, are born into. And when you go from that to the span of life of Black women are more likely to have Alzheimer's. Black women are more likely to die from curable breast cancer. And a lot of these things, when we look at the number of stress-related diseases that impact Black women, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, all of these things are precursors that end up at the end of life. After all you've been through, shit, you get Alzheimer's. And so it's situations like this, where, again, I'm not a police officer, I'm not in a high stress job where, I have a certain level of risk. I'm not a firefighter where like daily, I'm having this high risk job. I run a nonprofit organization and I'm an artist. I'm not supposed to be under high stress of doing those types of things. And so basically, as a Black woman, me just simply existing, me simply moving around the city of Madison is stressful for me. Whether it goes from me going to Sephora dressed like a grown woman and I'm followed around by an undercover security guard, or if it's me going to the doctor and I get a lecture from a 20-something young lady over me wearing a dress and them not having scrubs for me to put on, and getting a whole lecture like, you can't expect us to have this and you need to come prepared and we can't do this and blah, blah, blah. From the sublime to the ridiculous, wherever I show up, is this ridiculous amount of stress that everybody else just gets to enjoy life. And so that's the thing that becomes hard, because what can I do then? What can I do? I can't create beautiful art and live stress-free and trauma-free. Like, what can I do then? And where can I do it? Madison is my home. I've lived here since I was 4 years old. Went to school here through college. I have invested more than 30 years professionally in this community. When do I get rest? When do I get peace? When do I get joy? And all of these things begin to really mount up. So one Friday, I'm sitting in front of my house and I'm painting rocks to bring some peace into my life. And I get a call from Christina, who is the executive director of MoMoCA, Mass Museum of Contemporary Art. And she says, "Hello, Lilada, this is Christina." Hello. And she says, "There's been an incident at the museum. Okay. She said, apparently there was a mother here who misunderstood and thought she could interact with your exhibit. So she wants to know if she can take home the canvases that they painted on. I'm like, wait. You're saying somebody came into the museum, they vandalized my art, and you're calling me to ask me if they can take it home. I'm like, why are you asking me this? This is so disrespectful. And I said, I'm getting off the phone. I just came talk with you. And so subsequently, the amount of stress that came from that particular scenario, which, my art was subsequently stolen. It was unsupervised and it was supposed to be supervised. And again, we're talking about a museum of contemporary art. And I know that is a certain classification of a museum. This is not a cafe with a picture up on the wall. There's a certain level of expectation that you have as an artist when you have loaned your work of being covered. And because my work in particular and the exhibit in particular, we knew it was highly under scrutiny. We knew there were people who were friends of Beth who didn't appreciate that I was doing an exhibit called Interrupted by Beth. It was supposed to be proctored while it was open. And then to later see video footage where a MoMoCA employee walks right past this lady and her children while they are vandalizing my piece and does nothing, says nothing, tells no one. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. The amount of calls and emails and can you decide on this and can you decide on this and all this kind of craziness was bombarded by the fact that when I got that call, I had just had a biopsy and I was wondering if I was going to be diagnosed with breast cancer. There was so much stress that ensued over the next couple of weeks that I actually felt the forming of an ulcer. I was getting so sick from being so stressed out about my health. And then I'm trying to deal with the people about the thing. And Christina is lying. I will say that, and you can quote me because it's the truth about what she said and didn't say, what she did and what she didn't do. And I'm in the midst of this, and I just had to say, I have to walk away from this. And prior to that, and in the midst of that, even having a conversation with the president of the board of Madison Museum of Contemporary Art, Diney Schaefer, which she proceeded not to apologize, not to say, oh, what can we do? She proceeded to tell me, oh, Christina didn't mean any disrespect. And when I told her, listen, Diney, I just wanted to call you and let you know I have to step away because at this point in time, I had been diagnosed with double breast cancer. I need to step away from this scenario to take care of my health. She basically said, well, nobody knew what you were going through when this happened, and basically said, oh, you were hysterical in your reaction because of what you were going through. And so I just think, this is a whole lot of bullshit from the top level of this organization. And this bullshit is going on and it's not being called on. So now I got to decide, am I going to focus on the fact that I'm dealing with this disease? Or do I have to fight? Do I have to fight for the unrighteousness and the injustice of how I've been treated by Overture and the Madison Museum of Contemporary Art at the same time? This is what I have to make a choice between: my health and dealing with this. And, people always want to ask me, what should we do? White people in particular, what should we do? Or they'll come up to me, I'm so sorry, I heard about what happened. I'll be like, well, did you talk to the museum? Did you reach out to them? Did you reach out to Overture? Oh, well, what the hell are you telling me you're sorry for? I'm sorry because it happened to me. I know it happened, so you didn't need to tell me it happened. What are you going to do? So what I keep asking the Madison community is, what the hell are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are you going to do about it? And stop asking me
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do about it, or even what I should tell you what to do. If you feel like this is wrong, what is your response to injustice? And you don't need my permission in order to respond. Oh, I was going to write a letter, but I want to ask, what for? What for? This is your community. Yeah, it happened to me, but it happened to all of us. It happened to every Black artist that will never walk in Overture again. It happened to every Black artist that will never show in Momoka. It happened to every Black woman that was in the exhibit of Ain't I a Woman. It happened to all of Madison. So why is there such silence? That's what I don't get. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the luxury to decide if I'm a heal or if I'm a fight. And even if I wasn't sick, this stuff makes you sick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly. I think we definitely want to just take a moment to pause to acknowledge your diagnosis and to show you so much love. And I know that you know of and feel the prayers and love that have been showered over the last few weeks. But it's such a raw, honest representation of exactly what you've experienced on so many levels.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I think that there are some really great questions that are coming in. I think that one of the concepts that I want to make sure that we don't lose and we can certainly revisit is the concept of the well-intending white person, the well-intending, liberal. I think that that's something that both you and Dr. G have spoken to us all so much about, right? And that cannot be, it is certainly not an excuse. It can no longer be an answer. That is, the most vulnerable place for us to acknowledge, where we're coming from and what made us potentially come from that space. The idea that, Black history is not Black history. It is American history. It is our history, right? These experiences are not just your experiences. They are everyone's experiences, and certainly shared experiences, in impact and just strong messaging of, non-Black allies and otherwise. So that's such an important theme of the conversation that I'm, just really so grateful that you're sharing with us. We have some really great questions that we can dive into if you're okay with that.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's see, AJ, have you had a chance to review them? I'm sorry, I've been a little zoned in.
Yeah, I do want to just call out, you kind of already answered this question in a way, but Bobby Lee said, I appreciate you speaking out. A lot of times we just kind of shake things off and keep going. You can't fight every single injustice, but you have to fight the significant ones. And their question was, how do you balance when or how to raise concerns? Trauma can be exhausting with or without fighting back. And if you have any other comments you want to make, certainly, but I know you've already, you said like, you have to make that choice and you've already kind of addressed that, but do you have anything else you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
and I want to say the sad thing is that there's way too many to choose which battle. And then there's a part of you that feels like you're letting yourself down and maybe the next person behind you down because you can't fight every battle that needs to be fought. And that is what makes it hard too, because in 1 week, in one day, of walking out. I love the pandemic, and I know that may sound crazy, because I was free of microaggressions. I got my food delivered. You know what I'm saying? I was in my house. Going back into the world, it's like in one particular day, I can have the most ridiculous things said and done to me. And it's really hard. And I think picking it is, life got real, very real for me real quick right now because of what I'm facing. But what I want to say to Black women who may be listening to this, don't wait till you get to an extreme situation in life like I'm at right now before you let some of it go. And what I want to say to white people right now is, if you all would help to fight these battles, we wouldn't have to pick and choose. We wouldn't have to pick and choose. When you see things, when you observe things, when you hear things, if you would speak up, if you would speak out, if there was this huge response from the artist community, do you know how healing that would have been to my soul? And I would have been like, okay, they have it. I don't have to fight. They got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a question well positioned around that that asks, I read on a plaque on the wall at MMOCA that there were donors who helped bring the Ain't I a Woman exhibit to MMOCA. Have any of those individual donors reached out to you? Have you been able to connect with any of the other Black women artists?
So my question to you would be, have you written down those names and contacted them, sent them links to the articles, written out your response to what happened to those donors?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have.
I love that.
So that's how you can, that's a question that you can both ask and answer because you've done that work.
Definitely.
And in terms of, yes, I have been in contact with the other artists. Everybody feels it. It's resonating with all of them. Mm-hmm. Because they, and here's the thing too, okay? My piece was supposed to be up there until October. So I have deinstalled it. So then how does that cost me as an artist, of the people who would have seen my work, maybe new opportunities I would have had because they saw my work? How does this impact the Black girls who were going down there coloring sheets that say, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful, that are no longer there? How does that impact them? And then how does that impact them when they go back to school in the fall? Mm-hmm. You hear what I'm saying? So the long-term impact is emotional, spiritual, physical, economic. Racism impacts us economically, mm-hmm. opportunity-wise, you know what I'm saying? And so there's so many levels of this. And I think that's a great question that was asked, but that's a question that needs to be answered.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm.
Another question kind of along that line is, we've talked about contacting the different board members or administrators, but a question kind of for, I think for everyone, not necessarily for you, Reverend Lilada, is who decides who gets to sit in those roles? Like who makes those decisions on who actually gets to represent those organizations? And mm-hmm. that's definitely a question that we as allies should be asking, is how are those decisions made, and are they the right decisions? So as you're thinking about your influences or the people that you know and the connections that you have to these organizations, please be thinking about asking them some of those tough questions too.
That's right.
Definitely. I am thinking back to something that we want to make sure to have a chance to cover in this session is just an update on the planning and the activations that have taken place following last month's workshop, and what a truly powerful engagement and opportunity that was, kind of for the participants in our Lean into Allyship series to come out from, behind the Zoom screen and really get together and join together truly in, dialogue and exploration and imagination, as you said. So we definitely have some updates that we can share on that. If it makes sense to maybe do that now and dig into some questions that might come from that, and talk through anything of interest. But we definitely, we hear you. We know that that is certainly our opportunity and our responsibility. We feel so strongly that the attendees last month, we had an incredible group. We feel so strongly that the attendees are all in, and they certainly understand the assignment. And we're excited to just talk a little bit about where we're at with that. So AJ, if you wanted to, go ahead.
Can I just say too, outside of Blacks for Political Action, Lean into Allyship and the work that you all did last month, you're the only entities that I know of that have had a collective response to the incident. Like I haven't heard from other art agencies, from sublime to the ridiculous, of just saying, people, when they see me, they might give me a kind of like, but, there's a lot of moving pieces for an organization like the Overture to be in existence. There's a lot of moving pieces for an organization like Mass Museum of Contemporary Art to be in existence. And so I'm really deeply appreciative of you all and the groups that met towards that action. I deeply am appreciative of that.
We are deeply grateful to have the chance to support and, show you what you've shown so many in the community, and, give back and support in any way that we can. I think it would be an incredible thing if those of us that were able to be a part of, those breakout groups in last month's workshop were able to share some of the, personal accounts and insights that group members had. I know in the group that I was in, I happened to have 3 former MMOCA and Overture employees in my group that shared such just like profound and interesting personal experiences about their understanding of the way that the art at the museum is regarded as next to sacred, and just having kind of a takeaway of a disappointed but not surprised, understanding, learning about the events. And I just think it's unacceptable and just so disappointing that there hasn't been more of a response from the community at large, and the regard at which, the Overture Center and MMOCA are held. Clearly it is a need for, the organizations to do some really deeper digging and question asking into themselves.
I was told by a former volunteer that the other person that was at the door with me when I was attacked at the Overture was a biracial Black woman. And I was told by this former volunteer that another volunteer said, "Did you hear what those 2 Black chicks did to Beth?" What did we do? What did we do? Even when you are wronged, you're blamed for being wronged. And from her, the response from the Overture was, "Oh, we need more training." Wouldn't you think they'd be like, "We don't want that kind of volunteer here with that type of attitude"? But obviously they employ people with those types of attitudes.
As a square one response. Yeah.
As a square one.
Well, we are excited to tell you about some of the conversations and actions that we have underway related to just that. So AJ, if you want to take some time and provide some insight and update.
Yes, so where we are at the moment is dividing ourselves into some groups where we can collaborate, and the main idea here is to like think about the connections that we have and to collaborate with each other using the connections we have to come up with some really great ideas to support Reverend Lilada. So I put my email in the chat, but if you want to get connected and you didn't get my follow-up email this week, just shoot me an email, I'll get you connected. So some of the different areas that we're looking at are just different ways to promote Reverend Lilada's art. You know, what venues are there? Who do you know? What connections do you have? You know, like just basically any way that you can think of. And to support Reverend Lilada yourself, look at her art. It's so great. I have the best shower curtain, I have to say. It's my favorite. Second group is if you've got additional ideas for following up with MMOCA and Overture Center, if you've got connections there, we're looking at ways that we can kind of organize more as a group, but definitely encourage you all to please contact those two organizations on your own. If you need the contact info, again, email me, I can send that out to you. And then another area is media. Where can we make some noise? Where can we, you know, push some folks for more media coverage? As Reverend Lilada already mentioned, you know, a lot more could have been done there. And just any other ideas that you have. So we're working in a group to get some of these ideas going, but you by no means need to be part of the group to do something. There are lots of ways that you can support Reverend Lilada just on your own. Patreon, supporting Defending Black Girlhood, listen to her podcast, Defending Black Girlhood, check out her art, check out her affirmation kits for Black girls. It's all really incredible stuff.
Thank you.
So the main thing I want to say personally to all the allies out there is Reverend Lilada is a gem, y'all. She is a Madison gem, and we need to show her some love here, a lot of love, and figure out what we can do as an ally community to really uplift her at this point when a lot of stuff is going on. And that does remind me really quickly, last time in my remarks, someone pointed out to me that I said white would-be allies to refer to the group, and that's a disservice to everyone who is a would-be ally and not white. So I want to acknowledge that I made that mistake, and just to reiterate that everyone is welcome here. We are so glad that you're all here. I'm going to work on that going forward. Thank you to the person who mentioned it, but yeah, we're so glad that all of you are here and getting involved. So just let this be an encouragement to stay involved.
That's so fabulous, AJ.
I think as a reflection, I know we've all had a month to kind of reflect on last month's session. And I know I have mentioned a couple of times how incredible it was, and it truly was, but it was such an awesome opportunity to see and hear from so many of, you know, our longtime or maybe just even newer Lean Into Allyship participants, and truly like feel the energy of those co-conspirators coming alongside each other and being in the breakouts and just hearing, you know, the passion and the truth and the commitment to being the change. It was so empowering. It was so empowering, you know, on a group and individual basis. And, you know, after the event, when we always kind of have a debrief, it was emotional. It was emotional in the first opportunity that we've had to do that in 2.5 years. And we feel the energy of the opportunity that session opened up, you know, for all of us, and in support of you, Reverend Lilada, and just the way that we know that we are stronger together, and virtual meetings and Zoom platforms are, you know, limiting in the amount of community that you could feel. I hope that you are feeling some of that tonight, but I wish that you could have been a part of, you know, just the love and energy that we shared last month. You know, in our support and response for your experience and your injustice.
You know, Samantha, just knowing that you all were doing it, I could feel the love. I could feel it without even being there. And it meant a lot.
Well, we will keep you, you know, in the know along the way. I think a really important reminder and message for us that you know, spoke about tonight too was, it is not your responsibility. It is not something that we, you know, an obligation that we put on you to ask you what we do next, you know, or to get your permission. You know, if the intention and the heart and the passion is there, you know, it is our responsibility to follow what feels authentic and right for us. And so, you know, as a Lean Into Allyship community and just as individuals, it is so important to continue leaning into that. And when we talk about, you know, we have starters, truly thought starters of the ways that we can, you know, support and move forward together, you know, in response to these experiences that you have had. And it is about just, you know, us being vulnerable and leaning into, I mean, that is the bare minimum of, you know, what we can do, and getting out of our comfort zone, you know, is such a small necessary price to pay. So we promise we'll keep you updated as we go along.
I appreciate that. I want to share this a quick thought. You know, I had this lady who came up to me and just said, you know, I hadn't done anything, didn't know what to do. Is it okay for me to do this? You know, I want people to think about it like this. If you were walking down the street and you saw a person beating up another person, and obviously this person had overpowered them, would you ask that person, is it okay if what would you like for me to do? Should I intervene? Is that okay? I don't want to step on your toes, because if you don't want my help, I don't want to give it to you. Or would you just jump in to protect that person because you see an injustice is being done? You know, so particularly when there are public things that happen, they happen to all of us. And I think that's so important for us as a community to understand, because now, what will you miss? What will your child miss? What will your grandchild miss seeing now because of what happened? And so act out of your heart intentions, and just realize when you see injustice, you don't have to ask if you can help to do something to stop it.
Yeah. My husband, my partner rearranged my desk, which is so, we share a workspace, and I am searching around right now, but my daughter was able to be a part of and experience your, you know, your exhibit, and bring home a coloring page, and yeah, participate in, you know, your work initially. And I have kept it, you know, at my desk as a reminder, because it is, you know, she's 10 and has a shorter attention span, and is partially colored, and it feels like this really bold representation of kind of the interruption, you know. So for me, I keep it in my workspace and, you know, visible as, you know, as a reminder and a motivator. I think that exactly like you said, for us to question, you know, as non-Black allies, what part of our hesitation is our fragility, right? What part of our hesitation is just our own ego? And again, that goes into, you know, being a disservice to the collective experience in every way.
Yes.
I think that one other question that we could end with, Quintella had asked, how do you get past this type of trauma and the emotional hurt that you may have felt, and the confusion that must have been so overwhelming in this space and in this experience?
It's kind of the trauma that keeps on giving, you know, because it's so ironic to me. Like, sometimes I think, wait, you gotta be kidding. Like, the same exhibit, like, it's just, sometimes when I think about it, it's just mind blowing. It just sounds so ridiculous if this would be true. And I, you know, Quintella, I can tell you when I get over it. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And I know that there is work that I will want to do when I'm in a healthier place. But it's just, it's to the point. And I said this in my open letter to all the Beths that interrupt Black girls, was I'm beginning to wonder, do I belong here? Do I belong in Madison? If every day I walk out of my doors, I have to fight for what everyone gets to freely enjoy, I can't create art here in peace. I can't display art here in peace. Is this the place for me? Because I'm not gonna fight all my damn life. I've already had, you know, like Oprah said, all my life I've had to fight my whole damn life. And I'm not going out like that. You know, and so that may mean that I need to relocate to a place that doesn't cause me daily stress. And so that might end up being my answer, because home is supposed to be safe and a place where you can be yourself, to express and live and enjoy. And Madison isn't that place for me. And these two incidents, and then the lack of response from other people in the community, it's just brought that home that this is not a safe place for me. So then what does that mean for me? What decisions do I need to make based on that?
And as you noted at the beginning of our conversation, you know, a location that is consistently ranked as a best place to live.
For
and
who?
a best for who, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are really so grateful for this conversation. We're grateful that you would join us on this platform to help continue to amplify your experience and the injustice and, you know, just the continued movement and response. We have, you know, plans to keep moving forward, as AJ covered, as a group. We certainly feel, you know, committed and emboldened and inspired, you know, to do that individually. And that is our ask, you know, alongside everyone that's here. We're just so grateful for you spending this time with us today.
Thank you so much. And I'm grateful to be here with you all, and to the Lenient to Allyship team, and for all of you who took the time to spend this hour with us. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And if I were to ask of anything, it's to realize that doing nothing should no longer be an option.
Complacency is violence. Silence is violence.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for that. We take that to heart. I know that it looks like almost all of you are still with us, and we know we're wrapping up. We would love for you to just hang on, because we have some really great updates around events and happenings with Nehemiah and Justified Anger before we just come back and have a wrap up and a farewell with Reverend Lilada. But Siobhan, if you were able to pop on and join us for a share out of what's going on at Nehemiah and JA.
Absolutely. Yeah, so much is going on right now. I'd like to take a second to recognize in all of our volunteer opportunities that I've been working on with all of our volunteers and donors. We just had the 14th annual Back to School Bash hosted by Foster and Nehemiah, run by our wonderful Miss Jackie Hunt. And we were able to donate to over 90 kids, backpacks, school supplies, new clothing, shoes. So many of them will also be receiving hairstyles and new hair care before the beginning of the new year in a couple of weeks. And that's just a small sample of what we can do with our direct services and with your volunteer and donations. So obviously, if you have any questions about how you can volunteer, go ahead and email us at volunteer@nehemiah.org. Can you pop to that next slide? I think it mentions what's going on next. The other thing is obviously to jump onto our website. We just updated the website, And there is a way for you all to get engaged, be engaged with the resources we have there, take the volunteer survey, become a part of our group. That will also add you to our newsletter, the newsletter that I send out to volunteers. So you'll always be updated as to the needs and volunteer opportunities that we have. One of the bigger ones that's coming up is right around for JA, for Justified Anger, the Black History for New Day course is coming up very soon. Registration is actually open if you'd like to. And if you've taken the course before, that is the primary requirement to become a facilitator. So if you're interested in taking the course again, volunteering your time to facilitate the discussions, now is your chance. Just send me an email again at volunteer@unimaya.org. Obviously, the other opportunities to join into a conversation, seeing that there is White and Wondering. It's a smaller group of white allies looking for ways to discuss with each other, to problem solve and uplift each other, to continue their allyship. And that happens every third Thursday. It's going to be on coming up in a couple days. Obviously, please go to nehemiah.org, donate, be a recurring donor. That's how we do what we do. Go to that volunteer page, sign up so you can also become a recurring volunteer. And I always encourage people to, even if you have done these two things already and you're still waiting for something to do, again, silence is violence. Complacency is no good. Find ways to start something in your own community. Mutual aid doesn't have to happen through us. We are just the encouragement, and we're here to do mutual aid so we can all do it. I think there's one more. Yeah, and as I just mentioned, create that mutual aid effort in your own community, and maybe even direct it towards Nehemiah and all of our support. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Siobhan. I know that because there is so much happening, I know that the Nehemiah team snuck a couple extra slides in here of things that are going on. So an overview, I think we kind of share these ongoing. We have the Community Transformation podcast. Definitely check that episode out. We have our White and Wondering. Justified Anger has the White and Wondering kind of open dialogue group that happens on the third Thursday of the month. And then we also have the Justified Anger podcast highlighted as well. So all great additional learn and connect opportunities. I don't know, Siobhan, if you have more information to share about these, I could definitely speak to them, but I know that I know it's such great content. We want to make sure to touch on it.
I don't have a ton more, but I have been working with Eli. This is a wonderful event. The idea is as you see, Black people, Black culture, Black communities tell stories to of the importance of who we are, and to make sure that we are known and our existence is known. And this is just yet another moment where we get to tell stories.
Sorry, that event for Madison locals, that event is in person, correct? In September?
Yes, it is at Cafe Coda. It's a Black-owned business on the east side.
Very cool.
It is a jazz bar, essentially.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay, I'm not sure how many slides we have left, but definitely check out the Reentry Conference virtual lunch and learn. And mark your calendars for November. Nehemiah is celebrating 30 years, which is pretty exciting.
If you do not have that on your calendar, your first piece of homework tonight is just to take out your phone right now and get that on your calendar. Just save the date right now. It's going to be so good. Okay, carry on.
Right, and another slide for Black History for a New Day class. Definitely sign up for that. It is fantastic. and check out Dr. G's Black Like Me podcast, The Best in Madison.
Yeah, I don't think that we've met since that acknowledgement was made, but obviously a huge celebration and announcement. Yeah, the Dr. G's podcast, Black Like Me, has won Best Local Podcast Gold again this year, right? Is this the second year?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, awesome. So if that is not a part of your weekly pod lineup, it certainly should be, along with Lilada G's. She has some excellent sessions and episodes as well.
Yes, Defending Black Girlhood. Check that out.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. So in wrap up, our Ally in Action Challenge for this next month is to just very simply take at least one action discussed tonight to support Reverend Lilada. We can support her by way of her art, by promoting her art, by purchasing her art, by sharing her art. We can join Lean Into Allyship support planning teams. There are 4 core themes and activations that were identified, and subgroups that are really taking off in all of those areas. I know AJ shared her email, so definitely get involved. Truly, whatever feels authentic to you, whatever feels right, but just most importantly, do something and get loud. And we are excited to talk about, to continue this conversation next month. This is not a one and done. It wasn't a one and done last month. It's not a one and done this month. We're going to keep the conversation and the awareness going and building. And that is, very much the least that we can do. Don is sharing some really excellent content too about more ways to engage with and learn more about Reverend Lilada and her work and her nonprofit. And truly, just in closing, educate, donate, affiliate, right? Those are our tenets. That's why we're here. We are a small piece, of the vast opportunity that we have in front of us to, learn and unlearn and just do more. So thank you for being here with us tonight. Reverend Lilada, thank you so much for joining us. We are sending you all of our love and healing. And we promise that we promise we'll stay loud.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all so much.